At 21, I was the kid making around £257,000 in the last 2 years, right? However, I was still deeply miserable, deeply unhappy, depressed, anxious, and potentially, arguably even suicidal. And I'm going to share this story with you in this video because I've not opened up on my personal journey, with making money online, with building businesses, with failing within my first coaching business, to having rapid success and rapid growth over a really short period of time, being able to travel the world, do all of these things, and it's been a real roller coaster. And it's only now 5 years on since that time that I can look back and share the journey with a little bit more clarity, with a little bit more lessons and a little bit more insights. So you can take the motivation, the inspiration, I hope, for my story. You can use it to grow, to build, but you can also avoid the mistakes I made when I first started building my business, right? I'm going to share all of this in this video, right? The very first thing I want to share is one of the biggest mistakes I made when it came to doing this, right? The first couple businesses I started, I was 16 years old, using my free time or any time I had in my college in my year 11. If you're in England, you know I was about 15, 16 at the time. I tried lots of different businesses. I tried a graphic design business. I tried a personal training business, which was doing okay, was fairly successful within the realm of making a couple £1,000s. Then lockdown hit and all of these stuff happened. And I went into online coaching. So I took a lot of these failures along the path of trying to make it work. Took a lot of these failures quite to heart, and when it came to this business that I was then running, which at 21 was an online agency helping fitness coaches and personal trainers, were like some of the biggest names in the industry you can imagine. I was working one to one of those guys, running their marketing, running their content, their campaigns to grow and scale. But one of the biggest mistakes I made with this business is because I tried to build all the other businesses prior and I didn't have as much success as I would have liked. I didn't make as much money as I would have hoped. With this business, I basically said yes to absolutely everything I could. So if anyone inquired for any kind of marketing, any kind of lead generation, anything to run ads or anything like that, I was basically saying yes to everyone. There wasn't really any clear ICP or ideal client kind of avatar or profile. There wasn't really any clear structures and foundations. It's basically me just doing everything and saying yes to everyone because of just the failure of the previous businesses. And because I just wanted to make it, I was so desperate to make it. I'd be at that point, right? If you think about me as a child for a second, right? Like think about me to this point, like I was the Bulgarian immigrant with no money. I've been told no all my life. I've been told like I'll never make it. I'll never really succeed with building, with growing, with scaling my business. So when it came to this opportunity, I was basically just saying yes to anyone and everyone in terms of helping them grow, build, and scaling their businesses. This was 5 years ago from that point on. And one of the biggest things that basically caused is me to feel overwhelmed pretty much all the time, to feel stressed, to feel anxious, to feel overwhelmed, to be working 12, 14, 16-hour days to actually just meet deadlines and make things work. And at the beginning, that taught me a lot in terms of resilience. It taught me a lot in terms of hard work. It's a lot in terms of how much more you're capable of than you realize. But after a while of doing this like just keep in mind, this was probably 2 years at that point of me working these 12-hour days as a minimum. Like it was probably at least, um, at least 2 years of me working these 12-hour days. At the end of it, towards the end, I genuinely wanted all of it to end, and I felt so much pain, so much kind of shame, so much guilt. I was using pornography, I was using alcohol just to numb myself and just to get through the days, just so I can keep going, just so I can keep showing up, just so I can keep doing things. And I'll never forget this day. Like one of those days, I think I might have just been able to push through to a Friday, right? Just about being able to get to a Friday on that week, and I'll never forget that. Like one of those days, I just got so drunk, right? So drunk, I just didn't want like to do to do anything, to have anything to do with it. I didn't want to like even live at that point, right? I didn't even want to live. This is how depressed, this is how anxious, this is how stressed I was at that point. And it was very counterintuitive. It was very counterintuitive to what I thought. And what I mean by that is, up until this point, I've been always told, up until this point, all my life, I've been told by movies, I've been told by in movies, in the books I was reading, all my beliefs up until this point were basically the following, right? It's like, if you're miserable, if you're not happy, if you're not where you want to be, if you simply make more money, money's going to solve all your problems. And at that point, I was the guy with £250,000 business a year. And I was still miserable. I was still deeply unhappy, deeply unfulfilled, and I didn't want to live, right? Because I built that business completely the wrong way. I built the business purely from a place of just wanting to make money. I built that business purely on just saying yes to anyone and everyone, in terms of like wanting to help everyone and wanting just to make as much money as possible, just to not be, unhappy, and just to be fulfilled. And that genuinely kind of left me in a dark place for a long time. And I'm sharing this conversation just because I don't think many people kind of know that side of it. Don't know the whole story, the whole journey. And I'm just trying to think and piece together if there's anything else in that story, right? Like, and I think there's a couple of reasons I feel like that happened. I think one of the biggest reasons it happened was just, again, I was just desperate to make things work. I was desperate to make money. I was desperate to get things off the ground. So I was just saying yes to anyone and everyone at the beginning. And then I was so overwhelmed, so overworked, so stressed out. And I just felt it was normal, to be honest. And this is one of the things that I don't think it's spoken about enough in the online business space, right? At the time, I was looking around everyone else. I was looking on YouTube. I was looking on Instagram. I was trying to speak to people I knew, trying to speak to some of my friends, some of my clients, even at the time, just to see if this is normal. And obviously, like, the space I was in and the kind of way I was coming across, I think no one would really tell you that they feel the same if they did. So I just felt like this is what it takes to build a business. What it takes to be successful, to crush, to do really well. It's just to basically work extremely hard 24/7, to be overworked, to be overwhelmed, to be stressed out, to be just doing as much as humanly possible to win. And I think I didn't kind of quite realize at the time. What I didn't realize is, like, I thought it was normal. So I thought, like, these signs, these symptoms I'm feeling are what it's going to take to be successful and make it in the online space, and make it in the online business space, and make it when it comes to making money. And because I felt it was normal, I didn't question my body. I didn't question kind of how my mind felt at night. I didn't question the anxiety, the stress, the overwhelm, all of these thoughts, all of these feelings. One thing I wish I could tell young business owners, young coaches looking to make it in a space. I wish I could tell my younger self, and I'm telling you now because you're listening to this. I wish I could tell my younger self this. Now, I'm still getting better. I'm still not perfect with it by any means. But one thing I wish I could tell that younger version to me, so I hope you do listen when I say this, is to do better listening to your body, listening to how your mind feels late at night, to how stiff your body feels, to listen to your stress, to listen to your anxiety, to listen to your overwhelm, and to create more space in the day where you're not consuming, but you're just being present. Because I think that ultimately will tell you a lot about who you are, what you want to do, and it also will tell you a lot about where you want to go with your business, with your coaching, with the people you want to work with the content you want to create. One of the things I did at that time, it made me money. It got me success early on. It got me proof of concept. So I'm not complaining. I'm actually quite happy I went through this journey because I can film this video and share this. But one of the things I did and I'm guilty of if I'm not careful, is just consuming all the time, always listening to stuff on YouTube, always listening to podcasts, to books, to always being around people, to always be like in a in an environment where you're always consuming. When you're always consuming, you can't look deep within. You can't look deeper within and understand, what are the stuff that will serve you, what are the stuff that maybe you need to improve, what are the stuff that probably aren't going to serve you. Like all of these things you can't really do if you're always listening, you're always consuming information, you're always kind of so busy doing. So as you grow, I do believe that deeply. I believe you really should work quite hard, extremely hard, when you're going from zero within your business to wanting to make your first two, three, £5,000 fully online. But once you've done that, it's not about slowing down. It's not about changing the plan or changing the strategy. But I think once you've done that, you can then have more room to think and get away from your anxiety, get away from your stress, get away from your overwhelm, and just create more space to think and understand, like, where do you want to go with things, what do you want to do, and what do you want to build. And I ultimately think that will make your life a tons amount easier in terms of growing, because I didn't do that. I kept stacking on the things I hated within business. I hate stacking on the things I didn't want to do, and that caused me to be super stressed, super anxious, and kind of killed my growth and made me like super suicidal as well. So that's why we do differently now. As I'm building this business here, it's very much built on purpose. It's very much built on impact. It's very much built on one-to-one conversations and high impact, and also just creating content I want to create, and not saying yes to everyone. Like in the last 12 months, I've had a ton of people book calls from these YouTube videos, from Instagram, and I've said no to a lot of these people. Like I've said no to people I've not wanted to work with. I've created content I've just wanted to create and I've had fun with. I've had great conversations I want to create, and I've had conversations in these YouTube videos I want to have. I've touched on controversial topics because I think it's a good conversation to have, and it's a good thing to be aware of, and it makes it a lot more fun, makes it a lot more sustainable, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable as well. So that's a big thing I would say here as well, is go, work extremely hard when you're starting out in terms of making your first two, three, £5,000. But once you've done that, in my opinion, once you have done that, that's when it'd make a ton of sense to start setting out more clear non-negotiables in terms of what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do in terms of growing and moving forward. And this might be controversial, but I do think at the beginning, when you're starting out, you have to be in a state of, you have to be, the lighting's not good here at all, right? When you're starting out at the beginning, one of the things I think you have to be willing to do is just get your hands dirty, get uncomfortable in terms of building and growing and scaling your coaching business, and just be quite uncomfortable just doing everything. Do a lot of the uncomfortable side of things in terms of like building, growing, starting. And then once you have more proof of what works, what doesn't, you can start to change the plan. But it's scary to me sometimes, right? And the amount of coaches that actually speak to, newer coaches in the space that have never kind of done anything significant, that's starting out, but are so quick to say, I'm not willing to do this. I'm not willing to work weekends. I'm not willing to send DMs. I'm not willing to book sales calls. I'm not willing to create content every single day. Like, it's crazy, because building a business is harder than having a job, and you have to be willing to do a lot of things when you're starting out. But be aware it's a sprint, and as you grow and as you get more space and more bandwidth, you can then kind of scale out your problems and scale out away from stuff. But just be prepared. It's going to be a bit more like a battleground. It's a bit more like a war right at the beginning when building a business. But just treat it as little sprints. Go heavy, go hard for 6 months. For 3 months, take small breaks, and then go again and push again, right? And you become more intuitive with what works. You become more specific, but it'll make things a lot easier. So that's a big thing I would say in terms of building a more fun, more sustainable, more impact driven coaching business as well. And ultimately, if you do these things, it would become a lot easier. So yeah, I can't think of any other big talking points in this exact video in terms of mistakes or things to avoid to be able to grow. There's a ton more other stuff I can share and help with, but if you do find this video helpful, it was just more of an idea. So I picked up this idea in terms of I just went on a walk, picked up the idea, and I thought, let's go for it, let's film it, and let's kind of cover some big talking points, some big conversations around what it takes to build a fun coaching business from the guy that did build his coaching business to making a ridiculous amount of money fully online, and then wanted to end it all, like the business, the life, everything, right? So that's the stuff I've learned along the way. So you can take this and you can avoid the mistakes. If you find this raw style content helpful, by the way, and if you do want to see more, make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe so I know to post more. I recently filmed a live AI workshop for coaches to basically know how they can implement AI and use it to basically build and grow their coaching business online. If you want to attend or if you want to rewatch the replay of this video, the workshop, or it's a 30-minute video or 30-minute workshop. If you do want to watch the replay, I'll put the link down in the description so you can just watch it for free to grow your coaching business as well. So if you do want to check that out, it'll be in the description below. And yeah, peace. I'll see you in the next one.